Hello, it's Echo. Welcome to another glorious installment of my sketchbook tour series, which I haven't done in a very long time. Also, my hair is different now. Only for a while. I'm trying shorter than my normal hair.
It looks gorgeous.
Oh, I'm so glad. Anyway, today we're gonna be going through this. This is the Ghost book, and it's like all watercolor. This is definitely my watercolor phase. Part of the reason that I've been taking so long to make my sketchbook tours is that I've kind of been moving all around the country, and so most of my sketchbooks are currently up in Washington. I think the pressure to make sketchbook tours just got a little overwhelming because they're like some of my most popular videos, and so I just kind of stopped for a while. But I'm back now, and we're gonna go through some of my newer sketchbooks. Let's go look at a sketchbook. Okay, this is the Ghost book. So this is actually an Arteza art book. These usually come in packs of 3. I got this a couple years ago when I did a sponsorship with them, and I actually use this mostly for watercolor. So you can see that the pages are kind of wiggly. That's because of the water damage. But despite that, it did hold up fairly well. I really like this because it's black with a red ribbon, so it matches my aesthetic. When I have plain covered sketchbooks, I like to draw something on the cover, usually in white, and that kind of becomes the title of the book. So this is my Ghost book. This is the red ribbon. My niece gave me these baby animal stickers, so I just started putting them on all of my stuff because she kept handing them to me. It was very sweet. So most watercolor palettes have like a tray or something where you can mix colors, and I believe this was all of the colors mixed together. So I just painted some kind of feather leaves, and then I drew over it with a pen to make it a bit more apparent. But I believe this was mostly me trying to clean out my brush. So I actually have 2 main watercolor palettes that I use. I have this 42 color fan pan. This was actually a gift from my friend Mel. And then I also have this, a 36 color premium Arteza watercolor palette. This is the mixing area that I was talking about. So all of the paintings in this were done with one of those 2 watercolor palettes. So here there is a squash, a pumpkin, and a tomato. And then the vines are mostly just to fill the page. With this one, I was trying to paint with just the grays and the whites, and then also just a very like basic flame. I think at this point I was watching some scary movies, and so, I don't know, I just wanted to make a candle. Next. So this watercolor palette has this beautifully vivid cyan color, and I feel like I don't use it that much, so I just wanted to do a couple things with this color, especially because I've used most of the warm colors. I wanted to try something with one of the cooler colors. As you can see, I closed the book before it was dry, so it got kind of smudgy and rubbed off on the other side of the page. Next. With this one I wanted to paint another plant, but I also had a purple color that I had never used in my palette, so I wanted to also use that, and there are only like 3 naturally occurring things that are purple that I know of, and that's eggplants, grapes, and flowers. Maybe snails, but I feel like purple is a pretty rare color in nature. So this is where this sketchbook kind of starts to take off. So before I had this color palette, I had a smaller one that I used to use as kind of like a travel palette, and it basically had 2 of each of the colors. It was a lot smaller. So there were 2 greens, 2 reds, 2 purples. I don't know what stone this resembles, but I just wanted to watercolor some really pretty stones. So I did 1 large one in the center and then surrounded it by 4 other ones. And then after I did this with the green, I decided to try the same thing again with yellow. Because again, there was a bright vivid yellow and a golden yellow. And so I figured I could use the 2 colors together and make another stone. And then I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but there is a slight shiny gold tint on top of this. And I actually did that with this. So this is the metallic watercolor that I bought on Wish years ago. And I've actually used this quite a bit as a top layer on top of my watercolor, just to make it look a little bit sparkly. It works really well. And then after that one, I did the same thing with red. I tried to keep the shapes relatively consistent, so I tried to make these look kind of round and polished. Whereas this one, they all have kind of edges, so they looked a bit more flat in certain areas. The 2 red tones that were in my watercolor palette that I had at the time is like a warm red and a cooler red. So this one leans kind of magenta purple, and then this one leans a bit orange. On top of that, because I am me, I used a little bit of black to make this little spotty texture, because some stones tend to have that kind of speckly pattern. Little imperfections. And then gold! It's kind of hard to tell, but this one has a lot more of that gold shimmer paint on top of it. With this one I used orange and yellow, and I tried to paint it almost like shards, so that the stone looks kind of layered. Like, I think selenite is the one that's layered like this. This is a structure that some stones can have. And then my fancy teal color. These kind of look like Minecraft diamonds, but if they were real. For this I wanted to make some cut looking gems, and I wanted to use that shiny cyan color I used in the very beginning. And then I also used this silver shiny color over them to make them look just a little bit shiny. After I did this, I really liked how the clear metallic looked, so I decided to do an actually opalescent looking gem, kind of like a pearl. So these are kind of like opal pearl shapes, and this was done with cyan and magenta. And then after I finished that, I thought, what if I tried two completely different colors? So with this one I used a cyan and a magenta to make these pretty colored rocks. I feel like these have a lot of cool layers, and I think I also painted a little bit of the shimmer on top of this. But then after I realized I could paint these stones with whatever colors I wanted, I decided to do one based on the asexual flag colors, which are black, gray, white, and purple. Drawing dragons is an asexual meme, so I decided to make the main one in the center kind of look like a dragon egg. This is where I sampled the two colors of purple that I had to try and figure out which one looked best. This is also how I can tell that I used this palette, because this palette is one of the only ones that I have that has a white watercolor paint. Very nice. In general, I'm very happy with this. But then after I did the asexual flag, I realized I could do other pride flags as well. So I did the full rainbow pride flag. This one was particularly fun because it meant that I could use the entire rainbow of my color palette and try and interweave the stripes so they look more natural, like rainbows. Rainbows are naturally occurring. And then of course, because we're doing pride flags, I had to do more because color palettes are fun. So I did the lesbian pride flag. As you can see, I put a little bit of the shimmer in there. And then after the lesbian pride flag, we have the pansexual pride flag. I really like how this one came out because it feels cloudy like a stone. I also love the shape of this one. It's just kind of like a asymmetrical egg. This feels like a pansexual shape, and I don't know why. And then we have a trans gemstone. With this one, instead of painting the white, I just kind of left it open in the center so that I could make it look like it's a white stripe kind of going through the stones. Also, I did my best to try and keep these colors as light as I could to make them actually look like the pastel pink and cyan of the real trans flag. I don't know how I feel about the shape, but I do really like this one overall. Egg, ha ha ha. And then we have a bi stone. Out of all of the ones that I did, this is the one that I think I like the least because it's so round. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like I could have done this a little bit bigger and it would have been better. It's still pretty though, but I feel like it doesn't look enough like a stone. It doesn't look bad, it just looks a little flat. And then we have a non-binary gemstone. This is another one that surprisingly doesn't feel as flat as the other two. With this one, I wanted to have a clear-cut line and then two gradients, because sometimes you find stones that are like that. It almost feels like it's two different materials put together. But this was the last pride stone that I ended up making. I have also made stickers of all of these pride stones, which are available on my website. Ha ha ha, this video was an ad the whole time.
Whoa! Ha ha ha! Buy merch!
Buy merch! Also, if there's another pride flag that you think would look really cool as a watercolor gemstone, please let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make a second batch. At some point, I was thinking about making a watercolor children's book, and so I wanted to make some very simplistic characters that were kind of like child-friendly. So I thought about making each of the characters a different color and height, and then also giving them each a different hat. It was just an idea that I wanted to kind of jot down while I was thinking about it. Just an idea. And then I painted some watercolor cats. I found this one really interesting watercolor tutorial, and the woman was talking about how to paint cats, and so I wanted to paint some cats. Look at this fat kitten. There's another one. And another fat cat. Aren't they cute? Lovely orange cats. Next. So at this point, fall had started, and I was getting very excited about the trees changing colors up in Washington, and so I decided to paint a red tree with orange leaves. And then this is where the ghosts start. I decided to use two colors to make a little silhouette of a ghost standing under a streetlight. I like this kind of melancholy Halloween aesthetic. Fall feels like a very nostalgic season, and so I just felt like painting a little ghost. At some point, I'm gonna do a Paint With Me live stream on Twitch, so be sure to follow me on there so that we can do some little paintings like this together, because these are relatively quick and simple. And then after I painted this ghost, I put him in the light, and it turns out that he's a candy corn. I like the idea that all of the, like, the creepy ghosts that you see in, like, in shadow are actually just little candy corn, and that's like it's like a Halloween goblin. This little ghost candy corn is like a little cryptid in my brain. But yeah, this is when the candy corn ghosts come out of their cave. And then because I had fall on the brain, I painted a pumpkin. But this one I tried to paint like a gradient between red and orange. And then of course I painted a little frame around it. Watercolor painting pumpkins is like one of my favorite things. I have another binder that is just a bunch of like gourds and pumpkins and stuff. And then I went back to the ghosts, but this time I decided to do green hills and just use a little bit of blue. I think this color was an accident. I think I started painting this and then didn't like that color. So instead I just decided to go with more of a blue and a like earthy green. And then I painted a little cat in a tree. I don't really like how this tree came out. It was supposed to be a dead tree, but it kind of just looks bushy. It looks like a tree that would have thorns. And then I decided to make something using just black. Watercolor is really good for doing things that are like a little bit spooky because watercolor tends to be a little bit blotchy, which I think looks really good when it's intended to be scary. So this one's just kind of like a sad ghost standing in a streetlight. I also used a white gel pen to make these eyes. And then this is where the ghosts kind of started taking over the sketchbook. With this one, I just wanted to draw one of the little ghost people floating. I don't know if he's floating in water and it's reflecting the sky and the clouds, or if he's literally just floating up in the sky among the clouds. But I just wanted to do some, like, slightly cloud shapes and just draw a little ghost floating. Very relaxed. And again, I made the eyes with a white gel pen. And then we have a little family. A little parent and child ghost staring at the sunset over the ocean. Very wholesome. And then I did a little monster. With this one, I just wanted to fill out the outside. Draw a little monster ghost. He's a cute creature. And then I drew a little ghost standing in the water. And this time, it actually is meant to look like it's reflecting the skyline. And that's why this is just a little bit darker. And then as you can see, I went a little crazy with both the white watercolor and my white gel pen. I also made the legs look kind of like they're bleeding out a little bit, so you can tell that this ghost is standing in the water, and this one's floating up above it. And then we have another little candy corn ghost standing in the light. This is another one where I just really liked this orange color and wanted to do some very dark, saturated orange circles, and then also include a little candy corn ghost. And then we have the candy corn ghost child and candy corn ghost parent, just standing in a black void. Look at how happy he is. So cute. I feel like when I painted this, there was something bad happening online, so this was me just trying to find a way to cope with it. This white part is written in gel pen, and then this is actually a dark green watercolor paint. And then a cute candy corn ghost in a coffin that is just floating above a void. Look at how cute he is. I really like the candy corn ghost creatures. And then after that, I painted a peach. A lot of watercolors don't really have pastels or light colors, so this was actually just to see if I could paint something pink. Also, I was playing a lot of Animal Crossing, and my island is a peach island, and that's also why I painted a coconut, because coconuts are another thing that happen in Animal Crossing. And then of course I made the background cyan and brown because that just felt kind of fitting. I feel like those are very islandy colors. And then after the coconut, I painted a tiny planet because I was still thinking about Animal Crossing. And so I painted just a tiny round world. So it kind of looks like a snowflake, but it's actually a little green planet with trees and bushes and grass. And then from there, nature. I painted another tree, this time brown, with yellow and red leaves. I think I like this tree a little bit better. I also like this brown vignette around it. And then I painted another little ghost guy with a monster. This one is adorable because I like the idea of this cute little candy corn ghost learning how to be scary from a big scary monster. But I did accidentally mess up and get paint in this area, so I kind of had to draw over it with a white gel pen, but you can still see it. But this is cute. I think this is adorable. And then Ghost Mermaid! This is another one where I got paint on the other side of the book because I closed it when it was still wet. I don't really mind that though, because I feel like it added a very interesting chalky texture to it, which looks like water. Part of the reason that I did this was because I wanted to draw waves using the white gel pen, and look how happy he is. It's like a ghost fish. And that's the end. Baby seal. Oh, I put the stick. Oh no, I don't want to cut the seal in half. I'm sorry, seal. I'm so sorry. Oh, this is my test sheet. And then on the back we have another baby animal sticker from my niece slash cousin. She's technically my cousin, but she's a lot younger than me, so I just say she's my niece. It's easier that way. And that is the ghost book.
You said you're going to start doing streaming. Are you going to tell them when you stream?
I like streaming on Mondays and after I upload videos. I'll just say it like that. Eventually I would like to be streaming 2 days a week, 1 day playing games and 1 day drawing. I feel like that would be a good amount of streaming for me. So if you want to see a sneak peek of some of my sketchbooks before they become videos, you can follow me on Twitch. Also, my store is back up if you want to go get some of my lovely Pride gemstone stickers. I am going to give you 1,000 awesome points.
Awesome points are back.
I'm giving them an awesome points because this is one of my sketchbook videos.
Wow.
Shh, it's a secret. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye. Which one?
I was going to say pugs are dumb rogues, but then I realized, what are dumb rogues? Bards. Pugs are bards.
Pugs they are, because they're the most likable. They look stupid and people love them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they breathe stupid, they're so bad at being dogs.
They're always making noises.
And they're always making noises.
Like bards.
Like bards. Pugs are the bards of dogs.